Hello world. Today we are interviewing Robert Simon, aka Big Rob, the son of Kool DJ Red Alert. He is an ambitious entrepreneur with a New York brand that was launched in the height of the pandemic back in 2021. Starting this episode off with a favorite, Golden Hour by Cam Murdoch. Also, for easy listening, we have created a playlist on Spotify called the House of Legacy playlist, where all the podcast favorite songs will be added, so all you have to do is follow and click play. All right, let's get into our second episode of Season 2. My name is Time Journey, and this is the House of Legacy. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the House of Legacy podcast. Today, we are with one of my good friends, Mr. Simon. Please introduce yourself to the people. What is your legacy? Where are you from?
Hello, people. My name, first and foremost, hello, Time, the legendary Time Journey.
Yes.
My name is Big Rob, aka Mr. Simon. I am the son of the legendary Kool DJ the Red Alert, the coolest legend of them all, the bum of them all. I am his son, his oldest son, his biological son. And I'm ready. Let's have some fun.
Okay. All right. So take us through your childhood. What was it like growing up, being, DJ Red Alert's son? Like, what was that like for you, being in Harlem, being in the Bronx? Walk us through.
Well, it was very interesting, of course. There was so many different things going on. I, growing up as the son of my father, obviously, It was 50-50. It was positive and negative. I grew up in the Bronx, in the South Bronx, over by 168th, 169th Street and Franklin Avenue. Down the block from the famous Armory, the shelter that's been there forever. And of course there was a lot of expectations as a kid.
Okay.
When you're 5, 6, 7 years old, there was a lot of expectations. There was you have to be 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. You have people who are your age or even adults who really believe that you're supposed to walk around with a gold chain and you're supposed to know Big Daddy Kane. Right? So those were some of the negatives, but then it was positives because I was able to live a normal childhood. Right. Normal childhood for the most part. I was able to go outside and do what kids do, play in the water pump. It was interesting. It was fun.
What were some of the expectations? Did people expect you to be a DJ, rapper? Like, what was that like?
Yes, unfortunately.
Okay, yeah.
Unfortunately, yes. They had these expectations of me being a artist or a DJ. My voice being on radio, because I started, if I can recall, when my father started to record me and put my voice all over radio, I believe I was about 7 years old. So,
okay, wow.
Right. So when he did it, I have no idea what's going to happen.
Right.
I didn't know I had no idea, like, what was good, what was bad. I just knew that he put me on the radio. I just heard my voice and I didn't even think nothing of it. All right, so now I'm going to go play with my Transformers. Right? About G.I. Joes. Like, I didn't care about nothing else.
Right.
But then it became where, again, older people or younger people, I grew up in the Bronx, in the South Bronx, where it was rough. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people that live below the poverty, there's a lot of poverty in my neighborhood.
Okay.
It was the crack era. So, during that time, there's expectations when you have a person who's famous in your family. It was difficult. It was difficult because a lot of people don't get it. There's a process to certain things in life. And
yes.
It was never really, for me, it was never really a thing. It's not something that I like. I don't really like the lights and the camera and the action. That's not really me.
Okay.
Not saying that I don't have the ability to do it. I can step into that room, especially up to date. But younger back then, not knowing what was going on, I had no idea. No idea.
And did that lifestyle make you more like want to be in the background in terms of career now, at the age you are now?
Yes.
Okay.
It made me, to be honest. Well, I mean, I'm gonna be honest on this whole interview. But to be honest, for many years, up until my late teens, I didn't tell people who he was because, to be honest, I didn't want nobody kissing my ass, and I didn't want people to dislike me, because I started to get people to dislike me based on who my father was. And it was coming more from adults than children, to be honest.
Wow.
It was very scary when you have when you live in a neighborhood where there's an expectation of certain things. And then of course my father, I was living with my mother. I lived with my moms and my brother and sister, God bless my brother's soul. Okay. So, you know, me being the oldest of my siblings and living with my mom, my mom's she wasn't fully engaged into hip hop like that. Okay. So, you know, and my father, he's busy doing what he's doing, you know, making history as well as being a provider, but unfortunately he wasn't there every day. So because he's not there every day, him and my mom, they split way before, like they split when I was like 2 or 3 years old. So he's not there every day. So of course it becomes in the very beginning when people ask, you know, kids are usually honest, right?
Right, of course. Yeah.
So as a child, I would be honest. Yeah, that's my father. You know, oh, is Kool DJ Red Alert your father? Yes. And then I started lying about it because I started to see where people was asking me these unfamiliar questions, these questions that I was unfamiliar with.
Right.
You know, again, I'm 6, 7 years old. I don't know who Big Daddy Kane is. I don't know who Slick Rick is. I don't know who Rakim is. I may have heard their music, but it's not being played in my household all the time. Okay. And as time went on, you know, you get these expectations, and I started lying about it. I started keeping it a secret, more to say, not lying, but being more secretive about it. And yeah, after a while, I started lying about it because I had fights based off of who my father was.
What?
It's like, yeah, like for real. Like I dealt with that up until high school.
Really? So, like for what though? What would you be fighting over? Like
because there's an expectation, and people think that people thought I was maybe showing off. Okay. Or people thought that either people thought that I was showing off, or because I lied about it, I was keeping it secret. And then when people found out about it, you know, I would find out how they would react to how I say things and how I do things. I'm being a normal kid. Right. And, you know, unfortunately, I'm all over KRS-One's video, so I can't deny
it. Yeah.
Like,
right.
I just see you with the big hands on the KRS-One video, right? Right. But, of course, I'm still denying it. So I'm fighting because I'm denying it. I'm lying. I'm fighting because I'm keeping it a secret. Right. I'm fighting because people think I'm showing off. Your father Red Alert. So now let's fight. Okay. Your father Red Alert. So you got to be dressed a certain way. Where's your gold chain? Right. And it's crazy because I was getting that from adults as well. It wasn't just children my age. It was really people in their 20s and 30s. You understand? Like, oh, you're supposed to have one of the latest Jordans. My mother was like, I'm not sending you outside with no brand new Jordans on. Right. You gonna tear them old ass sneakers up that you got on right now. You ain't gonna be playing in no park with my Jordans on, or what your father wants you. So, and then again, it was during the drug era, right? So, I remember one year in '86, my father bought me a sheepskin. Okay. This is a real story. He bought me a sheepskin. And as he bought me the sheepskin and the hat, I didn't know what that was. My mother looked at my father and was like, I am not putting this on this boy?
Mm.
And he was like, well, why not? And she said, because they're going to kidnap your kid. Like,
what?
He has a sheep kid with a hat on.
Right.
Like, no, like, we're not doing this.
Yeah, it's not safe in that sense to be walking around like that.
Right.
Right.
Right. So, again, I went through a lot, you know? I went through much more good than bad, but the negatives were very impactful to where, again, I was never ashamed of my father, but I was ashamed of the fame that came along with it, because I don't think in my mind that I'm famous. You know what I'm saying? I didn't fully, again, I did not fully accept, not that I was rejecting it, but I didn't really accept the pivotal part in where I was placed in hip hop until I was really in my 30s.
Okay.
You understand? Until then, I was like, so what? I don't know who you talking about. I'm Big Rob.
Uh-huh.
Once I became a teenager, it went from Robert to Big Rob.
Yep.
And Big Rob had his own identity from there. And I've pretty much had my own identity ever since a kid. I always wanted to be exactly that. I remember telling my father when I was about 8 years old, like, I want to be A, B, C, and D on my own. It was funny because I'm a hustler. So back then I would do things like pack bags. Like, I didn't care about that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I would have other kids or adults be like, your father's Kool DJ Red Alert. Like, why are you packing bags? I like my own damn money. So those expectations made me surely keep distance with people. I was always a people's person, but when I was younger, I kept distance from certain people because, you know, I knew what it came with. And it was that feeling of I don't like it. Like, I don't like people I don't like a person that want to be my friend because I'm Kool DJ Red Alert's son.
Right.
You understand? It wasn't that was never cool to me.
Wow. What were some of the things that, like, during your childhood, teenage, and then going into your 20s, like, what were some of your hobbies? What were some of the things that took you out of that fixed space in hip hop? Like, what was your own identity back then?
Well, of course, sports.
Dope.
Basketball. Basketball, video games. Family. Again, I grew up with my brother and sister. I was the oldest of them, so we did a lot of things for many years together. For the most part, my sister being the youngest.
Okay.
But yeah, like, it was pretty much that.
So now you're in your 20s, 30s, and going forward and just thinking about, you know, having your own identity and making your own money and stuff. What was that for you, your career journey?
My career journey was hilarious.
Okay. So please.
It was hilarious because, well, for me, it's hilarious to today. Only for me. To some people, to the people who doesn't understand about being connected to fame.
Okay.
And me personally, I don't feel like I'm famous. But being connected to fame, there's an expectation. So, as for years I worked. I always had a job.
Right.
And then I started to, after a while, during the pandemic, I tapped into my own lane of selling clothes. I've always found ways to make a dollar.
Okay.
I've also promoted parties as I became an adult.
Okay.
I started promoting parties, and to this day I still do it. I just don't do it as heavy. But I tapped into the promoting parties.
That's dope.
And yeah, because that's what I love to do. I love to party anyway. I didn't tried to separate myself so much from my father. I was always around. I have never stopped being around. But it was just more of, this is my own thing. I did try to tap into music around 20 years old. At 19, 20 years old, I did tap in. It almost slipped my mind. I did try to tap into music. I wasn't a part of a group, but people that I was cool with, and we're still cool to this day. They're like family to me as well. Right. We actually, I wanted to be a ghostwriter. I said if I was to ever, I've never really been too comfortable with being on camera. Okay. So, and I don't like I did not, and still to this day almost, I wasn't really in tune. It wasn't for all of the extra stuff that comes along with hip hop. Okay. Not the culture, but the entertainment side of it. Right. So, I said that what I would do is I would write for people. And of course, for me to write for people, I would actually have to get on songs and do certain things. So back in 2005, I started working with my homeboy Steve-O, aka Cloak. Okay. My homegirl Mecca, and my bro, the governor. He's from out of Alabama. Okay. And we all got together and we made a mixtape. My father, he actually told me we ended up having one of the songs in light rotation because it was a mixtape. So this is obviously when mixtape started getting crazy. Right. Jump on somebody else's song. So we actually had, my father told me that we had one of the songs on Sirius Satellite back then in light rotation. Okay. I was like, oh shit. Like, I didn't know. I never got a chance to hear it because I didn't have Sirius Satellite, but he told me that one of the songs ended up in light rotation.
Your clothing line. I want to talk about Mr. Simon, the clothing line 2024. What is the vision? What is your goal for that?
Okay, thank you for asking about Mr. Simon's clothing line.
Of course.
Well, very quickly, I started Mr. Simon's clothing line back in 2021. I'm always trying something new. I said, well, I started selling clothes when it was me, my father, and my stepbrother, G Mims. When we were the Kool Connection, back from 2013 up until 2019. We were all three formed together. Okay. And we all have our different identities, but it was pretty much a family business that we were trying to create. So at the time, I was into the marketing and promotions part. And of course, it was to tap into the clothing. And when I started tapping into the clothing at that moment, I started to get more intrigued into it. So I said, when I got the chance, I was going to create my own. In comes 2021 is when I dropped Mr. Simon's clothing. And we started out with We Outside. Dope. We Outside, of course, is the famous slogan that's been going on since the pandemic. Actually, before the pandemic, Mr. Simon's clothing is catered to freedom. It's just, again, it's about hip hop. It's about building a brand for self and self-awareness is what I'm going to do. And it's going to be I want people to wear Mr. Simon's clothing because I want to celebrate our culture as Black folk.
Dope. These are my last 3 favorite questions that I ask everyone, and I can't wait to ask you. First one, where do you see yourself in 1 year from now?
Where do I see myself in 1 year? Ooh, that's a great question. I am open. I also see myself open to more activities in hip hop, rather it be podcasts, videos, music, parties, anything up under that umbrella. I'm actually, at this point, I've started to accept exactly what I am and what I'm capable of. So I'm opening myself up to new things as far as, again, podcasts, movies. Mr. Simon Cole gonna be making another jump in the world, and I'm going to have a couple of other things going on. I'm not too sure exactly what that is, but I can feel something big is coming on. I feel like it's gonna be in that realm. Because I'm open to it.
How do you plan to continue your legacy?
Carrying that torch, as far as being a man first, being more successful with my family. It's about just really being a better man, carrying that legacy. I'm not to shade anybody in the world or anything of that nature, but there's a lot of less men in the world right now. At this point, I want to carry that legacy of being a man first and continuously being a man and improving as a man, and carrying that. And then whatever comes out of that, fall up under that. It's like the pyramid. It'll spread itself out. What my legacy would be is Big Rob is still the same person who's improved as an individual over the years. He's never changed for the worse. So that would be my legacy. That's how I would love my legacy to be.
Last question. Any advice to give to the next legacy holder?
To anybody, any child, or any young adult who right now who has a family member who is well known, don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe. And when I say that, meaning just because people are going to throw themselves at you there's going to be people in the world that's going to throw themselves at you because you're famous through a family member. Don't take advantage of it. Understand that there's a lot of people in this world that's going to try to take from you, that's going to dislike you, that's going to be jealous of you. Be very aware of your surroundings, and that's a real thing.